Okay, so good news. We finally have the World's Strongest Man Heats events released. Now, I just want to touch on a couple of things, just clear it up a little bit. Obviously, when you're dealing with a big TV production, there are sometimes some things that stand in the way of things being released, stuff like that. Now, the athletes have known about these events for quite some time, around about 2 months, and they've had plenty of time to prepare for them. If you've been following a lot of the guys on Instagram, you will see they've been training these events, and now probably it will make sense as to why they're doing some of the things they're doing. But the athletes have had plenty of time to prepare. Now, I know the fans do always want these events just to sort of create some interest, to get talking about it, but there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to World's Strongest Man. A big part of why the events hadn't been released prior is due to contractual things with sponsors, basically. I can't go into too much detail, but I am sort of quite privy to conversations behind the scenes. They were obviously looking to get contracts signed with sponsors before they announced them, so that way they can do the announcement and actually sort of announce those deals as well. But that's the reason why there's been a delay anyway. But the athletes have known about these events for quite some time. So let's just get into it as we might as well. First up, we've got the loading race. Now, typical World's Strongest Man starting event, really. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hot in Sacramento. I believe it's on a platform, not on sand or anything like that this time. So I expect some sort of fast-paced action, which is obviously fantastic and a great way to start each heat, especially for the TV shows. It's sort of kind of typical one just to sort of get the ball rolling. I know that when I was going into these sort of events, I was very happy to have a loading race first and get it out of the way. It's something where obviously it's tough towards the end, but you've just sort of got to grit your teeth, get through it, go move as quickly as you can, and then hopefully you obviously place well and you can sort of come away from it with a nice few points. And then you can sort of almost settle the nerves a bit after that first event. So it's a good way to start for the guys. It's not too taxing on their body. It's more sort of strength endurance based, which I think personally is a great way to start an event. So second up, we have got the deadlift for reps. Now, I believe they're going for the big globes, same as we used in previous years, 2021, 2020, roundabout somewhere sort of 350 to 360 kilos. Obviously, they are quite tough compared to perhaps a regular plates and deadlift bar. It doesn't flex as much as what a deadlift bar does, so that typically adds a little bit to the difficulty of it. But from previous years, obviously what's gone on, anything around double figures is great points. Now, I don't know how hot it's going to be in Sacramento this year, but I know that actually when I tore my bicep and I did the exact same deadlift back in 2021, I did my suit a little bit too tight and it really hindered me. Obviously the added difficulty of the heat was sort of making breathing a little bit more difficult anyway, and then obviously having my suit a bit too tight didn't help. I actually had a conversation with Bish before, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I should go too tight with the suit. It's a bit too hot, and we sort of had that conversation, me and Bish, and then I went over and asked Big Tom Stoltman to do my suit up for me. Well, you know, not always the smartest move to get one of the strongest people that's ever walked the planet to tighten up your deadlift suit. It was definitely too tight. Not his fault, it was definitely mine, but perhaps should have asked someone who was a little bit weaker than Big Tom. Right, next up, Titans Toss. Now, as it stands at the moment, and obviously some of these events can be subject to change, but as it stands at the moment, they're not. The Titans Toss is going to be a sandbag toss for distance. Now, might sound a little bit weird, but basically what's going to happen is the sandbags are going to be lined up, gradually moving further and further away from the platform, from the barrier, and you're going to have to throw them over the barrier. So it could make for some interesting moments. It's going to be really cool to see the guys launching those sandbags from sort of 8 meters away from the barrier. I think it's pretty cool. I'm kind of excited to see it. I've never seen it done before. I've never done it myself, so it will be interesting. And obviously, I like things when they're a little bit of a different spin, a different take on it, something that's previously gone on, and it's just a slightly different variation. It's a little bit of an unknown. So there could be some guys that perform well on this, that don't necessarily perform as well on a speed run, or it could be that, you know, the other way where someone normally does really well when they're throwing them for height and for speed, they might do a little bit better or a little bit worse on this one. So it just adds a little bit more, a little bit of a different dynamic. And obviously, like I said, I think it'll be cool seeing the guys launching those sandbags. Well, by the time it goes up and over the barrier and lands, it's going to be like 20 meters, which will be pretty cool. Next event, the Rogue Overhead Medley. Now, I believe it's a dumbbell, circus barbell, axle and log, somewhere like that. And I think it's 2 reps on each, very similar to like they did at Europe's Strongest Man, which obviously is very tough. We saw at Europe's Strongest Man, everyone was sort of saying, oh, it's a bit on the light side. But when you're talking about 8 reps and 4 different implements, it really does. You can't get into a rhythm. Like with a log, if it's just 150 for reps, you can kind of get into a rhythm. Whereas with this, it's a bit stop-start. You've got to keep changing your technique each time. So it's going to be a little bit more tricky, and it's going to be interesting. I think I quite like press medleys. I think they're cool, especially with sort of different objects, in the respect that, you know, some guys can be good at one, not quite so good at another, you know, and you can see the guys going head to head and moving ahead, behind, and you get those moments of sort of excitement and drama, which I think is always fantastic for strongman shows. Now, last event in the heats is the Stone Medley. I mean, again, sort of going back to what I said in the beginning, I'm not sure how much I can say, but this is going to be kind of a medley with a few different stones, different types of stones. I do know what's going on, but I can't really give too much away. But I know that they're going to be some that they're carrying, some that they're loading. So it's going to be quite a cool one. I believe that they're getting stones laser cuts. They're exactly the same. And they're sort of going head to head. And it will be a timed event as well. And obviously a bit of a decider on who makes the final. So yeah, very cool event, in my opinion. They did something similar at the Arnold's in the past, which I really liked. I thought it was cool. Just maybe a touch heavy on that tombstone for some of the guys, but, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, I think it's pretty cool. It's interesting. Some of the events are a little bit different, you know, old events with a new spin. You know, I'm kind of quite interested to see it, as always. I think World's Strongest Man, in my opinion, I know recently they've been getting a lot of heat. And I wish that I could sort of tell you guys some of the stuff that goes on that perhaps you don't hear, because you tend to only hear the negative stuff. Being one of the athlete ambassadors, me and Rob, we're involved in a lot of the conversations that go on behind the scenes, and I can assure you that everyone at World's Strongest Man that's working on it wants this show to be the best it can be. They're working very hard to try and do things. They are sort of taking on board and not taking things personally if there's some form of criticism. But I do also think that the fans perhaps sometimes can be overly negative because of a few outbursts over the years from athletes. And the thing you find that some of the outbursts from athletes are not really got much substance to them. I will touch a little bit on Mitch's outburst. Now, I can understand, having competed at World's Strongest Man a number of times, it's not perfect. And there are sometimes things that can be frustrating and a little bit difficult. TV does control a lot of it. But I think some of the stuff is a little bit unjustified. And I'm happy to sort of talk about a few points. He said about the 90-day payment time. It doesn't take 90 days to get paid. I've never waited even a month. It's within 90 days, because some of the guys that live in different countries, there's sometimes some issues with paying them, and it's within 90 days is just to cover it, so they know that the guys will definitely have got the money by that point. So it's not as bad as it sounds. And again, with the tickets fit situation, I believe there's around 1,100 seats for the seating area, and obviously they have to sort of make a kind of a rule for the amount of tickets that athletes can have. There's 25 athletes plus 2 reserves, so they kind of have to have some sort of limit. If all the guys decided they wanted to bring 15, 20 of their family, friends and family, then it would cause a bit of an issue. But the people at World's Strongest Man do always try and accommodate these things. They always try and work with the athletes. They always try and help the guys as much as they can. Yes, there's been problems in the past with friends and family areas, and I remember see recently Loz saying about how me and him were both criticised by the old organiser of World's Strongest Man, so people that were in charge at the time, because we gave both exes actually a bottle of water, and they weren't very happy about it. But times have changed a lot since then, and things have improved so much. And I think that sometimes us as athletes, we have to be kind of professional in the respect that there is a lot more TV stuff involved. There's a lot more that goes into it than just a live stream and stuff like that. Now, I know us as strongman fans, we're happy to sit there and watch a live stream. I mean, I've sat there myself and watched amateur shows on a live stream for 3 or 4 hours with nothing in between the events, terrible camera quality and everything, because I just want to see people lift. And I know that we're all the same as that. But ultimately, World's Strongest Man is as much about getting eyes on our sport as it is about satisfying the strongman fans. It's equal. So much as we all want it to be a certain way and we just want a live stream, which contractually can't be done at the moment, they've tried everything they can with regards to the contracts that are currently in place. They've tried to look for loopholes, all sorts. Trust me, they've tried. At some point very soon, those contracts will come to an end, and then they're in a position to renegotiate and change some things. So, as it stands at the moment, yes, it's frustrating there's no live stream, but there can be one in the future. So we've just got to sort of grit our teeth for a couple more years and kind of just suffer it the way it is. But ultimately, we're people as strongman fans that will watch World's Strongest Man on TV anyway. Even if we know the results, even if we know what goes on, we'll still watch it because we're strongman fans. But I think that it will change in the future. It's just, they're just contractually bound and can't at the moment. I think that's pretty much most of the stuff covered. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say anything about, too much drama about the whole sort of Mitch situation. But I will say things have improved. Things are improving. All the athletes have contacts that they can reach out to. Everyone's got the emails and contacts. Darren, Colin, some of the bosses, we've all got those emails to contact people. And I think that conversations like that are certainly not ones that should be had publicly. They should be done in private. So that's just my opinion. I think that sometimes airing your dirty laundry is not a good look for maybe not you as an individual, but for the sport in general. We all want the sport to grow, and sort of doing things like that sometimes can put a negative spin on it. I mean, you can see it from the comments, the way that people are now ultra negative after what Mitch posted. But as I said on a thread on Facebook, I think that, yes, there was some truths to what he said, but there's also a lot of bits missing that he didn't say. But I can assure you all that things are not as bad as they're sometimes made out. The team at World's Strongest Man are really working hard to make it a great event, and hopefully everyone can get behind it and actually be a bit more positive about it. At the end of the day, World's Strongest Man is the only competition we get people that actually qualify to be there, not just picked out of a hat, or not out of a hat, but selected on various different sort of reasons. Everyone there qualifies, and in my opinion, I think that it's the fairest competition out of all the big four. I think Brian does a great job with his 16 athletes. He picks what he feels are the best 16 in the world, and I think he gets that pretty right. And he does have a bit of a sort of qualifying structure as well now. But I think the Arnold and Rogue, in my opinion, much as they're great events, and I'm not criticising the events at all, I don't always think you get the best 10 guys in the world at either of those events. I think you get most of the best guys in the world, but there's sometimes some that you sort of perhaps could swap for other guys. Whereas at World's Strongest Man, and to an extent, Strongest Man on Earth, we get more of the best guys in the world going up against each other. So that's just my personal opinion. And like I said, it's not a dig at Rogue or the Arnolds. I think they're both great events and great for the sport. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having all four of these big shows. And I just wish that us as strongman fans would get behind all four of them, because ultimately these are the ways that the athletes are getting paid. These are the ways that the athletes are getting themselves out there on TV as well, through World's Strongest Man. Great, in terms of like helping with sponsorships, people just knowing who you are. Great for business opportunities. You sort of only got to look at the athletes. A lot of them are selling coaching programs, or they're sponsored, or the more people that get eyes on you, not just through social media, the more opportunities there are to earn money. So I don't think that there should ever be a negative thing to that. And like I said, yes, there is some things that could improve at World's Strongest Man. I know that me and Rob are having some input. Guys behind the scenes are really doing their best to try and make it better. And I'm sure we'll get there. And I'm sure that once we get out to World's Strongest Man, it's going to be a fantastic event. But the final events will be coming soon. I know that the final athlete list is due to go out anytime soon. I mean, it's not that difficult to work out. You've only got to sort of look at the Giants' lives and things like that and see guys that have accepted their invites already. So the final list of athletes will be going out imminently. So same as the final events. So just hold your horses slightly. All the athletes know that they're going. All the athletes know the heats and final events. So the people that actually matter in the competition, people like us, are not as important for us to know what the events are and stuff. We're just fans and want to see it and want to talk about it. So just hold fire, guys. Don't get too stressed. And all the information will be out very soon. Thanks for watching anyway. We'll probably do another recap when we get to the finals events, and I will chat to you then.